Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke. This is a channel where I talk about houseplants and do DIYs. Today is a DIY, so welcome to that. If you like talking about plants, hearing about plants, learning about plants, and doing DIYs with your plants, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you are a recurring viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited that this new year, there are 500 of you, which that's awesome. And so thanks so much for watching. Today we are doing a DIY moss pole / New Year talk. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands, but I think my child just woke up. Maybe not. I'm going to be doing a DIY moss pole. So I have had a video, or have a video currently up. Actually, probably several. I think I have a short on this and a long form video talking about how I make my moss poles. So I do make my own moss poles. I've just found throughout the years that they are more cost effective. That is what we're doing today. I have my hardwire mesh and I have my sphagnum moss and I have my zip ties, and that's really all you need. So I will link all these products below. This is all on Amazon. You can even get moss on Amazon in a larger pack. This is from Lowe's because I was there and I just grabbed it. But the number one tip for moss poles, like making moss poles, I should say, is always pre-moisten your sphagnum moss. So I have a really big bowl here and I'm just going to let this sit in here and soak up the water while I talk. And that way, by the time I need it, it's going to be ready for me to actually put into the moss pole. If you are new here, again, I have quite a few new subscribers, and so I'm so grateful for that because I started this channel back in 2021 and it was just like a spur of the moment thing. I liked talking about plants and I was doing it on Pinterest and making all these like little short videos, and it turns out people liked it and I got a lot of traction with them, and so I decided why not try and put that here on YouTube. And so that's what I did in 2021. I did one video and I then just stopped. So I actually just started this channel back up in maybe 2023. I feel like it was 2023. I started it maybe like February back up. And so here we are. This is what I do. But as I've, been doing videos and stuff, I have never asked, and I don't know if this will work. Maybe no one will respond, but I am curious because, there were videos that I have done previously, that didn't track as well. And then there's videos that have tracked as well. And it's always interesting to see what people are looking for. And so this is the Q&A part. What would you want to see from a plant person? What are you looking for when you are coming to YouTube for videos? My most tracked videos are box store walkthroughs, which, to be fairly honest, that's what brought me to YouTube, to look for plant pages because I was so curious to see what was being found in other states and other cities. I am always still amazed when people are finding like gloriosums and different anthurium at their big box stores. Now, granted, those people are probably in Florida or California where all of the plant nurseries are, but it is interesting to see what other people are finding. And I know that when I post a big box store walkthrough, it's going to get a lot of traction, and it's always just fun to see because sometimes they're really boring to me because there's nothing good, but other people comment and they're like, your store looks great. And I'm like, really? I didn't think this looked great. And so it's just fascinating to me to see what other stores are missing and what mine has compared to others. So anyways, I know I'll be doing more of those in the springtime because currently the big box stores are just not getting the plant shipments in. Although I did just post a big box store walkthrough of Lowe's and it was fully packed. So that was, and I've never seen my Lowe's like that fully stocked. So it was a good day. I will admit that. I am curious, what brings you to YouTube? What brings you to my channel? What would you like to see? What interests you? What would you like to know more of, etc. So you can go ahead and leave that in the comments for me so I can check back and see what you think. Making a moss pole is really kind of messy. So I'm just trying to flip all the sphagnum moss over and get it really saturated with water. It does retain a lot of water like sphagnum moss does, but at the same time, it dries out pretty quickly in a home setting. And you kind of have to consistently keep it moist. but for me, the outcome is well worth it. I have tried wood planks, like cedar planks. I have tried bamboo stakes. I have tried cocoa coir poles. I have tried like, what else? What else? I feel like oh, trellises. I've tried trellises. I don't feel like that they work for me personally. The only success that I have had getting a plant to grow up and get larger is on a sphagnum moss pole. And so that is just what I stick to. I just don't even bother with the other stuff. I just make my own and call it a day. So I have quite a few plants on moss poles growing. If you want your plant to grow larger and grow more upright, and you have an upright plant, so I'll talk about that, put it on a moss pole. Put it on a pole of some sort to get it to climb, because that's when your leaves are going to start sizing up. So I'll show a video of it. But last year I rescued a golden pothos from Lowe's for $20, and it was already on a trellis. And I let it try to like grow there, but it was just outgrowing it and it was too much, and I didn't want to add another trellis because it wasn't getting any bigger. And so I decided to transfer it to a moss pole, and I did that. That's my largest moss pole I have in the house, and it will probably be the largest plant like house pole or plant pole, moss pole that I have, because it's just really large and difficult to like maneuver. But that plant is doing really great. And so it immediately took off. It took to the pole, and the leaves have sized up significantly. And so again, I'll show a video showing what some of the bottom leaves look like versus the top leaves. Now, when you do get a plant like this, you'll see on the bottom, they're all kind of growing out of the pot. And so you do have to kind of guide it and attach it. And so I do that by getting hair clips from Walmart. So like the little butterfly clips, you know, we used to put in our hair. I get those, or like just some sort of like clip, and I just attach them, attach the vines to the moss pole. And that way it just is closer to it. It's not having to search for it, and you're guaranteed that it's gonna like attach if you keep it well moistened. So the trick is to keep it consistently moist. Now, do I keep it moist every single week? Absolutely not, because I don't ever think about that. I kind of just forget about it, and then I pass it probably 5 times and think, yeah, I really need to do that. But it does amaze me that the plant still does grow into it. It does search for water. I feel like once it knows the moisture is there, usually like it just kind of triggers something in the plant, and it, you know, adheres. And so it's done really, really well. And then another plant I have, that's my second largest, is my Epipermanum pinnatum albo. And so I've been growing that on a moss pole since I got it. And so you do not have to wait until your plant is more mature or larger to start growing it on a moss pole. I would start immediately if you are specifically wanting the leaves to size up and get larger. Start it off as soon as you can by just making a 2-inch moss pole, or getting a 2-inch moss pole. That's the size that mine all are. Besides for my pothos, my golden one, it is probably a 3.5-inch one. But the other poles that I do are just 2 inches. So that's what I'll be making today, is a 2-inch diameter moss pole. That one's been growing extremely well since I got it. It has grown so much that I've chopped it back a lot. So there are multiple plants in the one pot. And one of them always grows faster than the other. So if you have multiple plants in one pot, you will notice that that's usual. Like you will always see growth on one more than the others, I feel like. It's the same with my Syngonium albo. So I have it on a pole, and one side of it, like with one plant, is growing faster than the others. And so I kind of just keep them pruned and try to like keep them back so that it can grow together and more full. But if you just want to let it go, you can let it go, and it will. How do you tell the difference between a crawler, which are some plants, and a climber? So this right here is my Philodendron gloriosum, and it is a crawler. And you can see like down here how the new growth is coming out and up from the previous leaf, versus a climbing plant like this Monstera aurea that I just got. You can tell, like, yes, it has a bamboo stake, but this guy, if I took the stake out, it's just going to be up. Look at that. It just stays up. And so that's because this is a climber. You can tell that because, oh, hold on, let me get this back in there. Oop. You can tell it's a climber because, number one, they're going to be growing upright. They automatically just want to grow up. I don't know how else to explain it, but also you can definitely tell a difference between these like internodes here, how they're growing out of each other, like again, up, I don't know, they're not coming out like this, they're just all going up. And so if your plant starts kind of growing up and out like this and like kind of doing the wave over your pot, it's probably a good sign that it is a crawler. And so I have seen people successfully put these on moss pools. I think it's a lot harder to do that. I had my philodendron mammii on a moss pool for quite some time, and it did attach itself in 1 or 2 spots, but it was never like a full adherence like my epipremnum. It's growing its roots like all around the moss pool. It just never did that. And was debate from what I was Googling online. I saw people growing them on moss poles, but I saw a lot of people growing them in longer pots like this as crawlers. And it turns out that it's a crawler. It's just a crawler. That's what it is. Now, I also find it fascinating that some people grow the Monstera Thai constellation in a long pot like this as a crawler. They do crawl along the ground, but mostly they climb up if you see them out in the wild. But I don't know if it's something different also like with the Thai constellation, because their internodes are a lot closer together than they are on a regular Monstera deliciosa. Like this is a Monstera deliciosa, just a variegated form of it. And their internodes, which is the space between leaves, are a lot longer than my Thai constellation are, which I have a Thai constellation. Oh yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. Never mind. But they grow so close together, quite like a crawler does. Their internodes grow very close together. They don't have the length that I feel like a climber does. And so I don't know if that helps them crawl along the ground easier than a Monstera deliciosa. Because I have a large Monstera deliciosa, and it just automatically wants to climb. Like it immediately was, upright and going. But I just found it fascinating that people put these in long pots. So I think that there are plants that can be grown both ways given the right situation. But for the gloriosum, like I've always just kept it in a long pot, and most of my upright or climbing plants, I just keep them on a moss pool or not at all. So there are plants that will cascade over, like this philodendron heartleaf here. So this is just a regular old green philodendron heartleaf, and it is actually a climber. Like it will climb if you give it a moss pole, but right now I'm not, and it's just cascading. So this is a cascading or trailing plant as well as a climber, again, just depending on the environment that you give it. All that to say, there's a lot of ways that you can grow your plants. There's no, I feel like, one right way. But if you are looking to get your leaves to size up and just the larger plant overall, you might want to look into its requirements. That way you can grow it successfully. I'm going to just continue letting that soak there. And then I'm going to take my mesh, the hardwire mesh, and you can cut this down to any size again. So this, I don't know, is like a 20-inch, like probably roll. And I will cut it down again, diameter probably about 2 inches. I just guesstimate. I don't really know. The other thing with your moss poles is when you are adding one to your plant, I always add mine in the pot. You don't have to. I've seen people put them on the surface, but I just feel like if I can get it down like deeper where the roots are, I've noticed that they start growing into it and it just kind of takes off from there. So that's just what I've done. But I leave an extra gap at the bottom, probably like 2 inches, depending on my pot size, for the soil to go into. And so I do not put sphagnum moss 2 inches like from the bottom. But that's just like a little side note. I'll tell you how many squares I'm cutting into. And I'm just using regular scissors here, nothing special. Let's see how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there are 15 squares here. So I cut 15 wide. So I will immediately start by just zip tying the top or the bottom. I just go over one square. And since this is the bottom, I don't have to worry about putting sphagnum moss here. So I kind of like to pin it up as a good starter. So like that. So I'm going up every Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every 6 squares, I put a zip tie in. But I'm going to pause now because I have it far enough up that I can start putting the sphagnum moss in. As a key too is do not just put all the zip ties up and then put your sphagnum moss in. You will have a nightmare. I zip tie it as I go. Some people will lay it out flat, put all the sphagnum moss in it, and then zip tie it. I just don't do that. I don't know why, but I just like to zip tie it up as I go. I find that easier. So the sphagnum moss, it is messy to do, I will admit. We've got everybody here now. But if you take a plastic bag or a Ziploc bag, I'm going to use this in a minute anyways, and so I'm just going to cut it and place my pole on it. It makes it a lot easier to clean up. Lay the baggie flat here and then put my pole. Again, the first like inch or 3, I'm going to keep out. I'm going to keep sphagnum moss out. So that way, when it sits in the pot, this can be filled by soil down here, and then the sphagnum moss will start up here. So I'm just taking my moss pole, taking my sphagnum moss. I will wring it out though. I'm going to wring out as much water as I can because I do want to fill it with as much sphagnum moss as I can. And, you know, water is going to prevent that from happening. So I'm just taking it and I'm sticking it down probably that far, again, 3 inches. And I'm just going to fill the rest of the pole. Just taking handfuls of it. So that way it fills in nicely. The more sphagnum moss you have in here, and the better you are at watering them, the longer it will stay moist. If you are wondering like what height you should make your plant, I would always go as large as you can. I know it's a little bit of a, you know, inconvenience because of how large it is and depending on the space that you have. However, you will be surprised at how quickly your plant starts to climb and grow. And so the worst thing you'd have to do is just remake another pole after you had already made one and cut it down. The way I do attach it if I need to, which I have done in the past, is by zip ties. I just make another pole the same size and I just zip tie it to the bottom one. On my bigger one here for my pothos, golden pothos, I did add a bamboo stake to keep it straight. So I've got it all filled and now I just need to zip tie it up. I didn't do that. And I'm going to try to wash my hands off, but it's not really going to work. You can technically reuse this pole. So the sphagnum moss is reusable, the pole is reusable. All you do is snip off the zip ties and then the whole thing kind of just comes undone. If you want to get your plant out or something like that, I have taken my plants off of these moss poles before and I actually have just pulled them out, which is not great. However, it has worked, but if you want to be really like careful with it and stuff, I would suggest, cutting the zip ties, then it unfolds, and then just slowly pulling off the sphagnum moss as you go, and tying all of the roots from that, basically. Perfect. Okay, now we're done. So this is my moss pole. Here it is. I will go ahead and cut all of these little zip ties off. If you don't have enough sphagnum moss at the top, you can always now add it at the top. Like it's a lot easier. Wow, light change. But yes, this is it. That's my DIY super easy moss pole. If you want to add to it, all you have to do is add another one on top here and zip tie it around. Again, I've done that, and then you can use a bamboo stake or some other stick to just make sure that it's level and straight and it's not bending anyway. But yeah, that was it. That was my easy tutorial. It really does not take that long. Like, I know it took a long time for this video, but super easy to make yourself. Again, you can buy the hardwire mesh on Amazon and make tons of them. Like I made that huge moss pole plus several other ones and this one using the same hardwire mesh. And I bought that hardwire mesh last year. So it's gone a long way. Moss poles, I use a mister on them and it doesn't take me long at all. Yes, you can take a bottle and turn it upside down, but just know that, you know, all those perfect bottle turns that you see online of your plant soaking in or your moss pool soaking in. If you have overly dried out your sphagnum moss, it will just run out the sides and it will just go everywhere. So I would suggest trying to pre-moisten it before you do the bottle, or just make sure that you're on top of it and constantly watering it. Now, I will also say I can fertilize these. So I fertilize them with every spray by putting fertilizer in my mister. Also, I just thought of something. The creepy inner shot of the close-up. Maybe I should step back a little bit, but I just thought of this. When you have your plant on a moss pole, like I do with my golden pothos, you actually don't need to water the base. Okay, I'm saying maybe you do need to water the base, but I don't water the base. Yeah, I don't. I do not water. So if my plant is on a moss pole, I don't water the pot. I only water the moss pole. Is this golden giant pothos right here that's growing. So again, it is in a huge, like a gallon pot. No, I do not water that. I just keep the moss pole moist, and that is how this plant is surviving. Again, if you have a moss pole on your plant and yeah, I don't know, you want to know a tip or a fun thing that I do, I don't water them. I just water the moss pole. It's the same for my Epiprimnum pothos. A majority of the plant is growing on the pole, and so that is what I water. It's not in the pot like the roots, so they've all adhered in. And so that's what I do for my Epiprimnum too, is I water the pole and not necessarily the pot. I think I water the pot probably every other month, but a majority of the time I'm just doing the moss pole because my Epiprimnum is pretty small still. But yeah, that was a fun interjection of what you can do. That was it. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, leave your questions or your comments about what you're looking for on a plant page below. I would love to hear more about that and see what you guys are looking for. So thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.